तो आज हम जानेंगे कि जीआरसी क्या होता है साइबर सिक्योरिटी की फील्ड में, लाइक गवर्नेंस, रिस्क एंड कंप्लायंस पार्ट, और मास्टर्स कहाँ पे करें यूके में, लाइक डिफरेंट डिफरेंट कॉलेजेस के बारे में, यूके का एक्सपीरियंस, वहाँ पे कितनी जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ है। सो हेलो गाइज, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। मैं आप सबका अपना नितिश। आज हम फिर से हाजिर हो गए अपने न्यू पॉडकास्ट के साथ। हम इसमें जानेंगे कि मास्टर्स कैसे करें यूके में, कहाँ से करें, क्या क्या चीज़ें होती हैं, कितना डिफरेंट है यूके का कल्चर, और क्या कहते हैं गवर्नेंस, रिस्क एंड कंप्लायंसेस के बारे में हम जानेंगे कि कितना डिफरेंट ये फील्ड है एज कम्पेयर टू अदर साइबर सिक्योरिटी डोमेन्स। तो स्टार्ट करते हैं हम लोग। आज के हमारे गेस्ट है रोहित। सो ही इज़ करेंटली वर्किंग एज असिस्टेंट मैनेजर एट PwC। तो आज हम इनकी जर्नी के बारे में जानेंगे। So hi Rohit, please introduce yourself.
Perfect. Very good morning, Nitish. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk on a security podcast. I've not done this before, so I'm slightly anxious about doing this, but at the same time, it kind of hooks my curiosity on what the security podcast is also going to be. So, just to give a brief about myself, my name is Rohit. I work as a senior consultant from PricewaterhouseCoopers India. I have been in the field of cybersecurity for close to 4 plus years. My journey is 4 plus years. Date back a little bit about my career. I started my career with TCS, Tata Consultancy Services India, as a software engineer. Then I typically started my software field in developing in web developments. And then I kind of started doing software developments and software testing. And then I got the inclination towards cybersecurity. And then I went on to pursue my master's in the UK. Then I did my master's in information security, and then followed by I worked there for a year and a half with a firm called Enterprise Risk Solutions, and then I came back to India. And now I'm with one of the big fours. So that's just in a nutshell.
So okay, I think you done your masters in very prestigious college in London. So how you start your interest started becoming in this field?
So to date back, probably when I was doing so I had this urge to always know about hacking, hackers, what is within the world of, ethical hacking. What is it to do with, attacking systems? Because I've only seen all these in movies. So what happened was when I was in my undergrad, I there was an elective called cryptography, but I wasn't able to take that due to practical reasons. Then slowly I started developing my skills in the field of cybersecurity, like attending workshops. I There was one workshop that was put up in IIT Madras here. So that was about ethical hacking, practical ethical hacking, and what's about it. So that kind of, gave my inclination to get into cybersecurity and what's it's all about. So that was the starting point, Nitish.
So can you tell me about your undergrad college experience?
Sure. So my undergrad was not in software. Unfortunately, I should have done it in software, but my undergrad was I specialized myself in electronics and communication engineering from RIT in Chennai. RIT is Rajalakshmi Institute of Technology, and mostly I focused only on electronics and the communication piece. My exposure to software is pretty much less because I just had very handful number of subjects that spoke on software, or let's say cyber or etc. But I would say the most starting point was there was a subject called computer networks, which, I think you typically understand that from a cybersecurity standpoint, because
Computer
it's all
networks,
about computer network.
yes, the main thing. Everybody's
Exactly.
interest starting from networks.
Exactly. So my starting point is computer networks in terms of analyzing the OSA layers, the TCP layers, etc. So that's the starting point. Then I started, kind of exploring more on internet in terms of how the networks work and what is it to do with network security, how the network is being laid, how the network is being deployed, implemented, etc. So those are my the starting phrases, and I had very less amount of time to focus on cybersecurity during my undergrad because I had very less exposure to it, and also on the software field per se. So yeah.
After that, you work in a TCS company. Can you share your experience over here?
Sure. So with TCS, I started as a trainee because that was the company that I joined through my placement through my college placements.
Okay.
Yeah. With the TCS, I started as a web developer actually. So that was what I was trained for. And in terms of my project, I was put into software development and software testing, and pretty much more focused on quality assurance. So that was the time when I learned what a regression testing is, what user acceptance testing is, and things like that. And what is the difference between a production, non-production, or sorry, production, pre-production, etc., prod, pre-prod environments. And my knowledge also, my learning also spanned across areas like database, data warehouse concepts like EDW, batch jobs, and things like that. So yeah, so that's with my TCS journey. And kind of when I had to finish my TCS journey, that was the starting point of my cybersecurity. Yeah.
So tell me about your campus placement. How is your experience in the college?
Okay, so this is with respect to my undergrad.
Yes, yes, is respected to your undergrad.
Okay. So for my undergrad, I had to prepare for my college placements as every college does. And typically there is an aptitude, session wherein I need to undergo an aptitude. I need to, kind of go through an aptitude test, and then psychometric tests, and then the technical rounds with my technical people and the HR. So that's typically the placement. And there were a lot of other companies, but I got placed with TCS.
Okay. So when you think you're doing masters in UK?
So typically, to talk about my masters, what happened was I actually wanted to do my masters right after my undergraduation. But what happens is when you go abroad, you need good amount of experience to get a job there. Not just for a mid senior level job, but even for an entry level job. So that is the expectation that is being set. And from my standpoint, what I thought was, okay, let me work for a year and a half or close to a couple of years, and then probably, let's go and pursue our masters. And what I did was, even before I joined my first firm, I finished my IELTS, because the IELTS score is valid for 2 years. So what I did was I finished my IELTS, and I had kind of set a roadmap for myself that I'm going to do my masters, or I'm going to start my masters in another 2 years time, and then later, after which things can roll up gradually. So I finished my IELTS 1.5 years before my master's journey, for which I went through a few videos on YouTube, mostly focusing on my, because IELTS focuses on listening, writing, reading, and speaking, all these four parameters. So I focused on all these, and then I gave my IELTS, so that I landed up on a decent score that can, give me an opportunity, at least, so that my admission gets is successful. Yeah.
Can you tell me about your IELTS journey, like IELTS preparation, how you prepare for this exam?
Yeah, so I just went through a few videos on YouTube, and there is this website called IELTS Liz, wherein they kind of give you real time tests. You can just do it on, like, I just prepared 15 to 20 minute on a daily basis, so that I'm getting all these concepts right. When I say concept, it's not a technical concept; it's just an IELTS exam, so it has more to do with your vocabulary in terms of listening, reading is, I think I would say, reading is the most critical component of IELTS, because you just need to go through the entire the passage within a stipulated time frame. So yeah.
Okay, so how you choose your college in UK? What are the different options you have?
Yeah. So as soon as I finished my IELTS, I got my scores and I started working with the firm. And then later, after which, I started digressing about where to land, which country to choose, and then I chose UK. Then I choose UK, because I want to get into cybersecurity, and my first choice was UK, because I love England as a country, and I wanted to go there and pursue my masters. So that's the first point. Second point was, as soon as I started applying, I saw which were the universities that were, in terms of accreditation, GCHQ accredited, because GCHQ is one of the most prestigious government accreditations in the UK, and that was one of the reasons why I chose Royal Holloway University of London, that is RHUL. wherein GCHQ is government communications and headquarters. That is nothing but an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence, information assurance to the government. So I wanted to focus on that, and also on my curriculum in terms of what the curriculum is going to be. And you need to know, gender typically in the Europe, the curriculum is only for 1 year, and I chose a course where I get an opportunity to stay for 1 more year, so that my visa gets added up for 1 more year, and then yeah,
Extended, your visa is extended.
exactly. So I chose a course that has industrial experience to it. So my course is information security with a year in industry.
So, apart from this university, are you having any other options of college?
I did have a couple of options, but I think I typically in the UK, I personally wanted to live in London, and I wanted to learn more out of it because the culture, and in terms of getting a job, I think I personally felt London was one of the suitable areas to get a job. So I chose a college that was not actually in London, but typically in the suburban place, that is Egham. So I just had few other options like in Southampton, Bournemouth, etc. But I chose this one
Because you love the place.
because I love the place,
Oh, okay.
and London is one of my dream destinations to be. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's
and
that's
studying there is, yeah.
that's good. So, how was your college life over there?
Yeah, so the college life. So I am an Indian. So I've almost been in India for close to 22 plus years. And what happens is when you move abroad, it's absolutely a dynamic place. It's a dynamic environment wherein you will have people from different facets of life, from different cross-cultural upbringings and everything. So you need to
Open
ensure
up
that
and
exactly, you need to open up and you need to be dynamic. It's not that
compatible also.
exactly, you need to be compatible. You need to be compatible with their accent. You need to get compatible with the food, the culture, how things work. And it's not like 9 to 5. We go here for a college like at 9 o'clock and we come back at 5 o'clock. It's not the same there. So what they do is they are typically flexible. What they do is some courses or some modules run from 10 a.m. in the morning until 1 p.m. in the afternoon, or it's flexible depending upon how the senior lecturers availability is. So it's a dynamic environment. You will have people coming from across the globe, typically from the northern hemisphere till the southern hemisphere. So it's a diverse environment. You get to learn a lot, and you get different opinions on what you do. And yeah, it was a fantastic journey. Thank you so much for
Hmm.
bringing this question up.
So, can you tell me your class ratio of like nation-wise, how many Indians
I think,
and
yeah. So I think my class in totality was close to 150 to 200. I'm not very sure on the numbers, Nitish, because but it ranges between 150 to 200. And I think in terms of Indians, it would just be close to 10 to 15 in number. Yeah, it was just a handful number of people within India. So from the southern part of India, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and from the northern part of India, uh, eastern and western. Yeah,
okay,
it's
okay.
like close to 10 to 15. Yeah.
So, what are the different subject you learn in your masters?
Yeah, yeah. So I have like close to 4 modules in the first semester. My subjects are divided based on 2 semesters. So my first semester is the core. My first semester focuses on the core modules. That is security management. That typically focuses on security standards for information security. That is ISO 27001, which is information security management standard, and then cryptography and its security mechanisms. So in terms of what is the need for the different types of security services, and how different cryptographic mechanisms provide different services. And then the network security, how networks work, the vulnerabilities inherent in network communication, and how these vulnerabilities can be removed or their potential adverse effects can be minimalized. And then the computer security, which focuses on the main computer security aspects, and also on the basics of what is the difference between a virus, malware, ransomware, Trojan, worm, things like that. And then comes the winter break, that is the Christmas break, and then later after which kickstarts my second semester. That is that I had two electives that I will have to choose, and out of the electives I've chose two modules, that is cyber security, cyber crime, and the last module was one of the interesting modules that I studied was human aspects of enhanced data privacy, that really had to deal with human aspects in terms of
Social engineering like that.
exactly social engineering and what is the reason how humans it's typically human factors, so because we are being the victims, and how do we become the victims, so yeah.
So, what is the difference between Indian colleges and the UK colleges you feel in the your masters?
So in terms of an educational standpoint, see, you cannot compare between two nations, because India has their own, standard of education. They provide high quality education. At the same time, UK colleges, UK universities provide their, high standard of education. And I didn't pursue my masters in a college. It was from an university. I chose an university is because typically in an university you have an exposure to global, you'll have global students coming up, and I personally felt you will have more opportunities coming up from that space. So it's an university. And again, coming back to your question, I think it's just a dynamic, how the dynamic the environment is in terms of assignments and everything. It will be real time in the UK, and in India it will almost be like your home country. And I'm an Indian, and I'm a South Indian, so I typically, communicate in my local language, but that's not possible in the UK. You need to have a very good communication so that the person on the other end understands what you say, what you really mean, and your vocabulary play, your communication plays a critical component in who you are. Because let's say you will have to introduce yourself to someone, and there will be career fairs that will be put up. So when you will have to introduce yourself, it has to be in a way that people understand who you are really. So that's very important. But I think I don't like to compare two nations, because it's really great. India is great by itself, UK is great by itself, but just that I UK, I mean, when I studied in the UK, I had people coming from a different nations, and I had a I had a dynamic learning space. Yeah.
Okay, like UK's college is more focusing on practical experience, I guess.
Yeah, so it's not just about practical. I would also like to add some more to it. So in the UK, so to kind of how do I put this? To kind of support myself, I need to go and work in part times, because if I will have to support myself financially, I will have to support myself. So for that, I need to go and work in part times, and then I will have to apply for jobs parallelly. And I should also study. I should also improve myself from a learning perspective. So everything has to go there, because I didn't have support from my parents there. I just lived in a space where I will have to pick new friends, and yeah, so that's how it worked in the UK.
Okay, okay. So how you get your internship over there?
Yeah. So what happened was, as soon as I finished, I thought I'm going in a good space, but unfortunately, COVID came. I think all the countries, including the UK, suffered, and UK was one of the countries which was badly hit, because the number of death tolls that was increasing every day was like very high in number. So as which what happened was the number of job openings, got less. Yeah, so I was going and I was also, and I should also say this, in the UK you don't have something called as placements. So you need to go, you just have career fairs wherein you need to go and apply through the portals that they give you, or you will have to drop in your CVs or resumes to them. So they will pick your resume, and it will undergo an application screening process and things like that. And as I was applying, I landed. It took good amount of time for me to land on a security job, cyber security job, and that is one of my kind of my starting points in cybersecurity in the UK, wherein I landed on a job as a security analyst, a cybersecurity analyst at Enterprise Risk Solutions.
So tell me about your work experience and which company you worked on, and what are the different technologies and tools you are using currently and the previous also. Can you give detail about these?
Sure. So when so in the UK, let's start after my masters. So when I joined as a security analyst, my role was more focused on performing internal security audits for my clients, and not just that, also performing gap assessments, understanding understanding the process of GRC as a whole, because I just started my cybersecurity career up then. And during that time, everything was new to me, in terms of understanding what is a risk, what is the difference between a risk, what is the difference between a security risk, what is the entire process of risk management is, so things like that. So I typically come from a proper GRC background, and I also have exposure to tools like vulnerability management tools like Nessus, Qualys, wherein I've performed vulnerability checks, I've performed technical scans in data centers, etc. So that's over there. And later, after which, currently, I don't use any tools at the moment because I come from a GRC standpoint, as I said. It's more to understand cybersecurity and keep providing advisory and recommendations. So that's my point of focus. But at the same time, I do know in terms of how to handle tools and how it works, etc.
Okay. If you have any other information you need to tell, like on a brief basis, what
Sure,
exactly
sure.
things are you are doing.
Sure. So I think since you mentioned before, Nitish, you want me to talk about GRC in brief. So I probably take this opportunity to, just give a brief note on what GRC in cybersecurity is and why is it, very important. So GRC is primarily made up of three important components, as you know. To start off with, governance, risk management, and compliance. So when all these components work together, it kind of provides a cybersecurity shield that protects organizations as a whole from cybersecurity risks. And understanding GRC is, to start off with, governance. Governance is nothing but establishing standards. So let's say you have governance functions, which acts as the architect of protocols and standards. It typically lays down the framework for secure operations within an organization. So that's governance. In terms of, let's say, you carry out a penetration testing. When that happens, that's typically from a red teaming standpoint. And when that happens, you need governance. You need frameworks or protocols that's being laid out on how a pen testing activity should be carried out. And then moving on to the next component, that is risk management. Risk management is nothing but identifying and mitigating risks. So risk management operates as the primary or the vigilant observer within this framework as a whole. Its main objective is to detect threats and vulnerabilities. So once these risks are recognized, it typically provides you with strategies on how to mitigate or eliminate them. So the process is in similar to a security detail, if I can say. And then comes subsequently the compliance, that is GRC. The third component is compliance, that is adhering to the established standards, the standards that your organization formulates. And on the basis of that, we will have to verify all the operations and behaviors within your organization, and we will have to align with the predefined guidelines of your organization. So that's yeah, in a nutshell.
Okay, that's great. I hope people will get help of what you tell.
Exactly. And people can also refer to frameworks related to GRC is ISO 27001. That is nothing but, information security standard. And then NIST. NIST is National Institute of Standards and Technology, that focuses on five key functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And within that, you have categories and subcategories. And then you have the CIS controls, that is Center for Internet Security. And then you have PCI DSS, that is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, wherein that focuses on a list of controls that will have to be evaluated when, let's say, PCI DSS comes into place when there is when you're developing, or when there is a business requirement that deals with transactions. Yeah, when you deal with typically with cards.
Okay, so can you tell me about your job interview experience? Like, what are the questions interviewer asks to you?
Yeah, so when I joined, so when I was a fresher, when I was just about to get into cybersecurity, it was more focused on how much of knowledge I have on cybersecurity in terms of basics. So let's say, what is risk management? How is risk management being this, because risk management is one of the what do you call the key areas of GRC. So typically the question was, what is, can you explain me the process of risk management? Then I had to explain them on how establishing a context, how you identify a risk, then how you analyze the risk, evaluating a risk, and how you treat a risk and things like that. So that is one of the areas. And apart from that, more also on the OAS top 10 attacks. What are the OS top 10? And what are the cybersecurity attacks that you know, in terms of, let's say, from a ransomware perspective, or from a data breach perspective? What are the bigger attacks that you know? Because when you join as a fresher, it's all about your generic basis. And it depends on what the duties and responsibilities are. It is absolutely subjective. It varies from organization to organization. Let's say there is an organization called Y. They would have their own what do you call expectations, and if there is an organization called A, they will have their own expectations. So it kind of varies between organizations. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So, can you tell me about the job opportunity in the UK in the cybersecurity field?
Yeah. So this question is again subjective, because you have opportunities, but the problem is, again, I just mentioned you, right. It's all about the expectations set by the organization. So do you fulfill that? For example, let's say I want to go into red teaming. Do I satisfy as a pen tester or not? And if I want to go into blue teaming, that is SOC, what are the concepts of SOC? Do I understand the security incident response process as a whole? Do I understand the security incident management process as a whole? What happens? What is the difference between a security event and a security incident? What are the various tools that are being used? How is an event or an incident being triaged? How does that go? So I need to know everything. So that's the thing. So coming back to your question again, it depends. So starting from a fresher role to a experienced person, if you have good amount of experience, I think you should be landing on a job as soon as you can. But if you're a fresher, it has its own limitations, but you will have to equip yourself with the right skill set, so that you know hit the nail on the head, and you land on a job as soon as you can. That's probably my recommendation for that.
Okay, so can you tell me about the average salary standard in the UK?
So it keeps fluctuating, but I think it's 26,000 pounds to start off with. But right now, I'm not sure. Currently, I think the scale has gone up a bit. I think it's gone more than 34 or 35,000 pounds to be precise. So to start off with, typically 26,000 pounds is the average. It's a typically a beginner's salary in the field of cybersecurity.
Okay, so can you tell me about the work culture difference in the UK and the India? You work in both countries and
Yeah. So I have worked in the UK. I worked in India again. So every environment has its own opportunities. But to be precise, in the UK, again, it's a very dynamic environment, because not just from a master standpoint or from an academic standpoint, you have global people studying. uh, Alongside, you have global people working with you, which means you need to be ready with your opportunities, or you need to be ready with your the security challenges on a day-to-day basis, in terms of providing advisories, in terms of providing security recommendations. The person on the other hand should also understand what you're saying. So that's on the UK. And in the India, again, I am currently working as a senior consultant now. So I need to ensure that the advisory recommendations that I provide is streamlined and it makes sense to the people who really wants to listen to it. Yeah,
Read, yes.
yeah, read or listen to it. So that's the point of focus. Again, UK has its own working environment and India has its own working environment. So it's two different countries, two different business environments. So I wouldn't like to compare both, but just I gave you a brief on how this works and that works.
Okay. So, can you tell me about the certification you did? The certification or is more important than experience, or what is your say?
So again, it goes hand in hand, Nitish. Let's say you start studying, all right. So let's say you start studying software development. You want to do certifications. Is just that you want to prove that not just you have a technical hands-on on that, but you also want to show your expertise from a certification standpoint. You want to show people that you are a certified individual. So on the same lines, experience is something that you will have to is your first step, and later after which you want to see where you want to do your certification. Because in cybersecurity I started my first certification was CEH, certified ethical hacking, because I as I mentioned just before some time that ethical hacking is something that I wanted to do, and that was my one of my first certifications because CEH encompasses across all areas of cybersecurity. So that was my first certification, and then later I went. Then later it added to my experience, and then I joined firms, and then after which my certification was on cloud security because cloud security is another area that I'm focusing on still. So I did my certification on AZ 900, which is the Azure fundamentals. And then again, jumping on the other side is the GRC aspect, which is ISO 27001 lead implementer. So I am a certified ISO 27001 lead implementer, which means I can implement the standard for your organization. And then later after which I did a couple of certifications from OneTrust. I think you should have heard about OneTrust. So one was the GRC professional, that is governance, risk, and compliance professional, and the other one was TPRM expert, that is third party risk management expert.
Okay. So, have you attended any talks and conferences?
Yes. So when I was in the UK, I had attended the Cyber Security Expo. That is one of the global expos that is conducted by them, and I have attended few other workshops that I don't remember the name exactly. But and in India, there's something called as the B sides, and also the meetups that I recently attended one in Chennai, wherein there were speakers from various security domains speaking about bug bounties, cyber security, penetration testing, ransomware attacks, then GRC, etc. Yeah.
Have you heard about Nalcon, Defcon, Chennai chapters?
Yes, 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 yes. But I haven't attended one, but I wanted to attend one in the future. I'm looking forward for that.
Sure. I hope we meet over there.
Sure, Nitish. Looking forward for that. Yeah.
So, which resources you follow to learn new thing or stay updated?
So in terms of learning resources, what I generally do is I kind of only see there are a lot of there are good amount of resources on internet, right? So I don't kind of refer to everything, but at the same time, I follow Microsoft News. I follow the hacker news in terms of what's happening on a day-to-day basis, and also I follow Heath Adams on LinkedIn for TCM Security, who gives you understanding about the practical implementations of cybersecurity, the pen testing, etc., and how the cybersecurity attacks are orchestrated. And apart from that, I perform few labs on Portswigger to get a hands-on, and also THM, Try Hack Me, and what else. So these are the resources that I follow. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, how you make your resume and showcase your project? It's focused to your GRC part. Like, if people are studying GRC in the graduation and want to get a job, so how they showcase their project in their resume?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. So typically, I think if you want to get into GRC, you will have to build your knowledge around the aspects of GRC, as I mentioned before. You need to know the difference. You need to know how risk management works. Risk management is a generic topic as a whole, but when you're going to, because risk management can be applied not just in cybersecurity, it can be applied to all other domains within software, and not just software, across areas within industries. So when you want to do this, you will have to understand how risk management works. Probably if you want to do a top, if you want to present your project on GRC, you can come up with good concepts in risk management, within risk management, or how you treat a risk. You just take a scenario, you take an analogy, and you do that, and you try to incorporate that within your resume. And also in terms of GRC, what I would say is, it's all about, once you enter the organization, after which starts your GRC journey, because you can't learn anything hands-on in GRC, because GRC is something that is on a day-to-day learning. GRC is everywhere. You learn, you do vulnerability management, you can have a GRC aspect to it. You do pen testing, you can have a GRC aspect to it. You do SOC, you can have a GRC aspect to it. So these are just few areas that I'm talking about, but you have a lot many more, as you know, Nitish. So probably that would be my recommendation. And also on your resume, you can be very clear on what you want to specify, rather than reiterating the same pointers again and again, but using the action pointers on what you have really done. So that will add more value to your resume, when people wanted to look into your resume and they wanted to really take little bit time and analyze, okay, I wanted to recruit this person or not. And you also know that there is something called as an application screening process, wherein there is automatic tools that filters your resume based on the keywords. So it's always better to use keywords. And also from a GRC standpoint, you can include the framework standards and everything, what you have done or what you have learned, so that adds more value to it.
Okay. So, can you tell me about the different job portals specific to cybersecurity?
Yes. So, in terms of different job portals, so what I did was, when I was in the UK, typically my focus was on Reed, Indeed, Total Jobs, things like that. But for cybersecurity, you have cybersecurityjobs.com, and you have various other security portals. And what I would say is, on LinkedIn, you can actually follow few hashtags for the security jobs, rather than getting into those specific portals. You can follow those hashtags, because that will typically give you the list of jobs that you're really looking for. Because cybersecurity as a whole is a ocean, Nitish. So you have red teaming, blue teaming, GRC, network operations, network security, security operations, and then you also have cyber threat intelligence, and then now artificial intelligence taking up the space everywhere. So you also have artificial intelligence, and you have security researchers who perform security research on a daily basis in terms of identifying CVEs, reporting it to the organization. So you will have to choose what you want again. And in terms of the job portals, I think in India it's Naukri. You have Total Jobs. I think I would say LinkedIn is the holistic space, wherein you not just apply for jobs, but you also get an opportunity to interact with the talent acquisition team, right? So that's, I would say, LinkedIn would primarily be one of the important job platforms in terms of an interaction standpoint. But apart from that, you also have the other platforms, as I mentioned.
Yeah, okay. So, can you tell me why you left UK and what are the demerits of doing masters in the foreign countries?
This is something that is quite unfortunate for me, but I wouldn't deem it as unfortunate, because right now I am where I am supposed to be. I
But
left the
most
UK is
most people
because
but most people face these challenges. But
Absolutely, yeah. There are a lot of
from
challenges.
when they think to do masters in the foreign country, though they don't think about these things, but this also plays a very crucial role to stay in the
Absolutely,
foreign.
absolutely. It plays a vital role, not just from a learning perspective, but also from a finance perspective, from a monetary standpoint. Because two of the countries, the currencies are different, the landscape is different, the economy is different, and everything is different. So,
You
uh,
invested a lot of money in
it
the
com-
education parts, and then you don't take back that money from that country, and then you go back to your own place.
Yeah, that's the bitter truth. But the problem is, as I mentioned, I was applying for jobs when COVID was at its peak. So I cannot control that, right? So there are things that are out of my control and that are out of our control. So what you need to do is, the only thing that you can do is you need to keep equipping yourself with the right talent. What do you want to do? It's all about your passion. Because in cybersecurity, you need to pick up what you really want and streamline your path in a way that that keeps you going forward. So that is very important, and you need to keep motivating yourself in doing certifications, or you want to learn tools, because there are very good amount of resources on internet. You can learn anything, because people, even during the school days, they start learning about hacking and everything. So that's how the world is right now. And artificial intelligence taking the space, it can give you answers for everything and whatever you anything and everything. So that's how it is. And me leaving the UK was quite unfortunate, because I had to leave because my work visa was not just the work visa, my stay visa was coming to an end, so I had to move out of that country, and I couldn't stay much with the firm over there, so I came here. But fortunately, I landed up on a very good opportunity that I am working on right now. So there are challenges out there. It's always about how motivated you are to face those challenges, and be ready to face challenges. That's what I would say, because that is what will take you move forward, and you will have to grow on a daily basis. And cybersecurity is a field, Nitish, as you know, it's a growing field.
Growing field,
It
yes.
updates every day. You have several new technologies coming up in every week. So you have very new things coming up, and you have abundant amount of security tools on internet. You can't know everything, right? Nobody knows everything. So you need to know how to update yourself, and how to stay on the top, and also getting typically adapting yourself to the security landscape is what I would say.
Okay, one
Thanks for
last
bringing that question.
question. Yes. So one last questions can you tell me the roadmap to be in a journey in the GRC part? Like if someone started in the college, so what they need to learn, and how they standardize their learning steps.
Sure. So typically, I think from a GRC standpoint, not just from a GRC standpoint, let me speak about cybersecurity as a whole. If you are coming from a software background, then that's your first step, because you need good amount of software knowledge to understand what cybersecurity is. And people need to know the difference between cybersecurity and information security. So yeah, I think that not most of them, some of them don't know. So information cybersecurity, everybody knows. Information security is typically focuses on the CIA triad of the security piece, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So yeah, so if you want to if you want to put your first step into the cybersecurity, first you want to equip yourself with the good amount of software knowledge, and then you need to know what you're going to do. Do you want to become a technical person, or you want to become, and I would typically put like this: you need to know technical things so that you are also able to govern things out, right? And let's say you want to become a CISO in the future. You want to know everything so that you become the chief information security officer. Correct, Nitish? So the roadmap is typically, the first step would be to learn your software concepts, then see what you want to do in cybersecurity, which interests you. Is it GRC, governance, risk and compliance? Is it penetration testing, the red teaming? Is it the security operations? Is it the network security piece wherein more of firewall implementations, DMZs, demilitarized zones, how you want to, uh, place your organizations, what do you call, how servers, where should it be placed? And this is from a cloud security standpoint. So, and there are ample amount of opportunities in cloud security as well, for which you can equip yourself with certifications in Azure, GCP, that is Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, and things like that. So that is cloud security. And if you are well versed in, let's say, you are very good in technical, you want to become a threat intelligence expert, you can do that. You want to do bug bounty, but bug bounty is something that stands apart from all this. It's an independent thing, right? Because you keep doing your security research on a day-to-day basis and you report bugs to that specific organization. So that's one another thing. And yeah, I would say developing your skill, developing your choosing your domain, and on the basis of that, you will have to keep developing your skill on that. I think that will make you land on a proper job in cybersecurity. And from a hands-on perspective, if somebody wants to do penetration testing, they can probably start with Burp Suite, wherein you have the real-time labs online that you can, uh, that those simulation labs wherein you can typically work on those real-time labs and you get an understanding of how it works, what is the difference. So yeah, that so I would typically say a roadmap is something that you configure, that is something that you streamline for yourself and you work on it on a day-to-day basis.
Keep learning is the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Cybersecurity is all about keep learning, keep updating yourself, and also attend a lot of conferences. To speak to people, because it's all about learning and sharing. Cybersecurity is all about that. And if you want to really face the security challenges out there in the real world, then security learning and updation is very important, so that it not just helps you but it also helps people within your ecosystem, your working ecosystem. So that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Rohit. You give valuable time over here and give a lot of information to our viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nitish. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak to you on this platform. I think I did share my valuable insights to your viewers. So I think it adds a good amount of value to your channel as well. And thank you for coming up with very good amount of questions and digging up my memories from the UK. That that I can definitely cherish for my entire lifetime. And looking forward to having a chat with you in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Nitish.
आई होप आप सबको आज की हमारी वीडियो काफ़ी इन्फॉर्मेटिव और काफ़ी हेल्पफुल लगी होगी, काफ़ी कुछ जानने को मिला होगा कि मास्टर्स कहाँ से करें यूके में, कैसे करें, कितना डिफरेंट है यूके का कल्चर, और जीआरसी कितना डिफरेंट डोमेन है और बाकी सारे डोमेन से। अगर आपके कोई क्वेश्चंस हो तो आप कमेंट डाउन कर सकते हैं वीडियो में, और आपको मेरे से 1-to-1 सेशन करना हो तो नीचे टॉप मेट की लिंक दे रखी है, आप वहाँ से जाके सेशन बुक कर सकते हैं। और आपको हमारी वीडियो पसंद आती है तो लाइक करें और अपने कलीग्स एंड फ्रेंड के साथ भी शेयर करें ताकि उनकी भी नॉलेज बढ़े। सो टिल देन, स्टे ट्यून, स्टे हैप्पी।